Hello, my name's Kerry Lemon. I'm an artist. I'm based in Brighton and I'm a B Corporation, which means that my company exists for good of people and planet. Every year I choose a charity. This year my charity is the Rainforest Foundation UK, and they are spectacular, and I'm delighted to be working with them and supporting them in all their endeavours. It was really exciting when they got in touch because the rainforest was something I remember studying in year six at school, and we learned all about these amazing tiny coloured frogs and all the plants and like the canopy and all the different layers. But what I didn't learn anything about was the people and the notion that that was someone's home. So when Lara from the charity reached out and said, could we do something together? I just thought, absolutely. Like I want to learn and I want to be part of what you're doing because it's fascinating. And um, I've really enjoyed working in this way. So um, I think I began my sustainability journey when I was always interested in sort of seeing what else I could do as an artist. So my artwork has always celebrated the natural world, often plants, often drawing plants or making plants. I make big sculptures all over the country. And then I started to think, crikey, if I'm making big sculptures, maybe I can kind of put animal habitats in them. And when I work with communities, when I'm sort of reaching out to consult on my plans for sculptures, I thought, well, maybe I could try and embed PEBs, which are positive environmental behaviors. And then, well, maybe through my practice, I can employ women and sort of try and really support women with what I do. So the longer I've been doing what I do, the more I've sort of realized, cool, we can all do a little bit in our everyday job, in our everyday work. There'll be things we can all do, just little tweaks that make a massive difference. And the more I've sort of done, the more I can see is possible. B Corp was I mean, B Corporation is an enormous task. It was so hard to get B Corp certified. But that's why it means something. If it was easy, it would be meaningless. It's really hard to get. You have to do what you say you'll do. You have to kind of prove it. You can't just say it. And it makes you pull apart your entire company and think again about every single thing you do, every piece of paper, every single bit, and think, how could I do it better? And that's a way of working that I want to use forever. You know, it's a framework of what could I do that's a bit better. I liked RFUK for lots of reasons. One of them is the people are lovely. You know, you often see like a flashy website and you don't really meet the people behind the scenes. And these people are great. You know, they are passionate about what they're trying to do. Like all charities, they're all doing 3,000 jobs each, and they are working around the clock to try and do this, to try and deliver this. You know, these are huge, like the scale of the problem is unimaginable. And what they're trying to achieve is moving mountains, and they're doing it. They are making a difference. You know, every pound that goes to that charity makes a big difference. So I liked the people, which is always a great place to start. And then the more I learn about the impact they were having, and kind of became aware of my ignorance, which is kind of my daily life, is just finding out more stuff I don't know anything about. So learning that the rainforest isn't just toucans and leaves and giant trees and coloured frogs, that people live there. That's someone's house. That's someone's home. That's their whole world. And that sort of touched me and disturbed me, really, that I'd never even thought of the destruction of someone's home. Um, and it added another level to why, to the urgency, and that kind of human to human connection, the notion that your home, you know, you're in my home right now, like that your home is being systematically destroyed, you know, is unimaginable. So I choose a charity every year. This time the charity kind of got in touch with me, which was brilliant. Um, and what we realized is maybe if we did something really immersive, because that's what the arts can do. The arts can make something quite abstract, very tangible. You can kind of create faraway places and bring them to someone. And so what we talked about was some sort of immersive space where people would have their senses affected. because that's what the arts does. It taps into all your senses, which is really powerful. It's a lot more powerful than, writing on a piece of paper. And it embeds memory and experience in a very different way. So I was thrilled. I thought, oh, this is very exciting. Okay, so my brain went to the first thing I could think of, which is what we always do. You sort of think, oh, immersive experience, big screens, on the walls and on the floor, and you walk in and it's all. And then I quite quickly thought, we're all bored of that. Like we're lucky enough to have seen a lot of that, and it does. I mean, I remember the first time I got to go to that sort of thing, and I just couldn't believe my luck. And then the next time you're sort of like, oh yeah. And then by the third time you sort of stick your head in, you go, yep, and you walk out again. And I thought, I want to focus on something much more kind of handmade and craft based, and that would draw you in. So I went on a long journey of trying to think what that could be, and played around with tiny sculptures and lighting them to create immersive shadows. So I quickly realized I could make something really small and shine a light on it, and it would almost like project huge things on the wall. And that felt much more childlike and much more intriguing than these kind of big flashy screens. So I went down the road of, I mean, everything. You think of it, I've done it, car reflectors, metal, cling film. I melted Jolly Rancher candy in the oven and made big sheets of it and cut it out, and it was actually the colored shadows that quickly became the most exciting thing. And then I hit upon the idea of making molds of real plants. So that's using dental putty. So if you're unlucky enough to have to go to the dentist and have some sort of terrible filling or something, they might make a mold, and it's this kind of gungy stuff that sets. And so that's what I've used to make the molds for the leaves. And then I've tried all sorts of things. But what worked really beautifully was putting olive oil in that mold and then pouring clear resin in. So that's like a liquid, a bit like the texture of honey. Pour it in and it sets. And then it looks like glass, but you've got a clear, exact, incredibly detailed copy of these plants. And that worked, which was great. And then I hand painted it with glass paints and then put a light through it. And then you've got these immersive plants, coloured shadows all over the walls. And then I got in touch with Q because I wanted to get it right. And my garden is not a rainforest. I live in Brighton and my garden is somewhat neglected. So I got in touch with Q, and the Africa team were really helpful. And they recommended the types of plants that are found particularly in the Congo rainforest. Really helpful. Really helpful on one hand. On the other hand, great, but where am I going to get hold of these plants? So you're talking to me at a great time, because at the weekend, I went to the Living Rainforest in Berkshire, and their incredible marketing officer and horticulturalist came in on their Sunday afternoon, and we walked around, and I literally just pointed at things and went, that one, that one. And they had like a pair of magic secateurs, and my husband had a massive bucket, and we collected an entire rainforest worth of plants for my tiny sculptures. And so the next step for me is going to be making the resin plants. But also last night, because I sort of realized that if I'm trying to speak to people's senses, we've got lots of senses, and sound was going to be really important. So I'm working with this incredible local Foley artist. Foley is like a fancy word for when you use like weird objects to make sounds. So in films, when you hear like bones cracking, apparently it's normally like somebody snapping celery in half. And like if you think about the archers, they're kind of in a cupboard doing weird things with like feathers, and they're making sounds that to you think they're on a farm, but they're not. There's someone in a cupboard doing all this sort of weird Foley sound stuff. So last night we were here, we laid out all this weird stuff all over the floor, and I cannot tell you how brilliant a wet glass and a finger is to make bird noises. I'm going to be practicing kind of building a sound bed of like all these amazing immersive rainforest sounds. But I'll be there lighting my sculpture and using gloves and cling film and all sorts of stuff to make you feel like you're in a rainforest. So what I hope is that you'll watch it and be like, what's she doing now? Oh my God. And then shut your eyes and hear it, and then see all these coloured shadows. I want it to be a real spectacle. I want you to need to be there. You had to be there. And it's a one-off. And I've got a lot of practicing to do between now and September, but it's going to be really, really beautiful. So if you get to come, you'll get to meet me and you'll get to see all the bonkers stuff I've been up to. And you'll also be in a room full of people who could really make a difference. That night is going to be huge. You know, together we could, I mean, I've donated my time. I've tried to work really hard to make something really very beautiful for you. And in return, if you can donate some money, you can do something enormous. You can change the future of those people's lives because it's needed and it will be used so carefully and so powerfully. You should come to the event Lands in the Right Hands because it is going to be so much better than the TV that night. I promise you. It's going to be so much better than your back garden. It's a one-off spectacle. Like it's not going to happen again. We're doing this once, and I've been working on this since January. Like it's going to be really beautiful, and I am going to record it, but it will never be the same as if you're in that room. It's going to be a really special night where you're going to get to learn and be entertained and hopefully be enthralled and hopefully be moved. And it will only be powerful if you're there and you're lucky to be there. It's going to be a great night. I mean, it's invite only. So if you get the invite, you should come because we have worked so hard on this because it really, really matters. But at the end of the day, it was all for nothing if you don't come. You know, we've worked so hard, but it's reliant on you coming and you donating, and we need you in that room. Otherwise, I have been up till 3 o'clock making weird shadow things for no reason. So please, please come because the difference you can make, you'll see. There's speakers, you'll see footage. People much cleverer than me will be able to give you the information and answer your questions. But, you know, I'm an artist, I'm not an anthropologist, I'm not any of those things. But if you just watch and listen, you can't help but want to do something. It's really important you're there. You need to support RFUK because they're working right at the intersection of human rights and environmental protection. What they're doing is astonishing. What they will do with every pound you pay will change lives, but it will change an entire ecosystem. It's the people, it's the plants, it's the animals, it's everything that's there. It's the water, it's the air. Your money is going to make the most dramatic difference. They're an amazing charity. These people are working incredibly hard and they need your help.